get a mentor who already has like a lot of experience. Because when I joined Polar AI, for example, I got very much support and trust from one of the co-founders who I worked with like the closest, I'd say. As I already told you, I got promoted quite fast to a very big position. And that is basically the thing where I learned the most, and I definitely recommend anyone to just learn a lot. And this is a my case. In the best way possible, to just get a mentor and see how he or she works.
Hey everyone, this is Devin Miller with another episode of the Inventive Journey. I'm your host, Devin Miller, the serial entrepreneur that's grown several startups into 7- and 8-figure businesses, as well as the founder and CEO of Miller IP Law, where we help startups and small businesses with their patents and trademarks. If you ever need help with yours, just go to strategymeeting.com, and we're always here to help. Now, today we have another great guest on the podcast, Julius Walkenhorst, or as close as I can get to saying his name. As a quick introduction to Julius, so graduated from high school and started his first company at the age of 18, co-founded the business with a friend, not much business experience, and the business failed after about a month. And then he found that he had a huge interest in the tech field, taught himself coding, went into a tech startup in California, was connected up via Reddit, I think, looked to get experience. Yep. Looked to get experience, not pay. Became the chief of staff and the first non-founder employee there. At the end of the month, or there will be now 14 employees or something along that nature. And then has had they have several or thousand active users, and then also became the founder and board member of another company that's a non-for-profit in Germany. And then also did some things related to an NGO for the business and taking donations and making those more transparent. So with that much as an introduction, welcome on the podcast, Julius.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm pretty much excited to talk to you today.
Absolutely excited to hear a bit about your journey. So I took a much more a longer journey and condensed it into 30 seconds, but now let's unpack that a bit. So tell us a little bit about graduating in high school and starting your first business at 18.
Yeah, sure. I always knew that I wanted to start my own thing. We basically came to the idea quite fast. We funded the company, like I would say, within 1 week or so, and everything scaled pretty much very fast. We set up like the whole production within a couple of weeks. Launched also like pretty fast. I would say like 1 month after we started the old project, actually.
And let me just out of curiosity, what was the business, or what was the thing that you initially set up out of high school?
Yeah, it was a pure fashion label. I'm not quite sure why we decided to make it as a fashion label, actually, because I would say the actual motivation behind everything was just to do something on our own, and to have like some sort of first step into the door of the whole world of entrepreneurship, starting your own thing. And then we pretty much recognized also quite soon that we really wanted to focus ourselves individually on other projects as well. For example, I got more and more interested into this tech world, Silicon Valley, the US, everything, where basically everything is way bigger than here in Germany. So yeah, then I got into Polar AI as an unpaid intern, proved myself, and became the chief of staff after 3 months. We are now actually 16 people, I'd say. We will raise our first round, fingers crossed, in February next year, in 2022.
So
yeah.
Just backing up, just because we kind of jumped to now where you're at today, and we want to capture a bit of that story. So just backing up a bit. So you had, coming out of high school, had the friend that was a co-founder, started the fashion business, right? And
Exactly.
got into the fashion business. And I think you said, after you kind of got it set up and launched, you really found out within about a month that it wasn't going to work, or that it kind of failed and it didn't go the way you wanted. And is that correct up to that point in the story?
It wasn't 1 month. I would say it was like actually 6 months.
Okay.
Until we realized, hey, all right, on the one side, our traction went down a bit. And on the other side, we got more and more interested to other things. For example, our studies, or when it came to me, my interest in tech and programming and the whole world in the Silicon Valley. So yeah, that was basically the reason.
Got it. So you're saying, okay, it sounds like it's kind of a combination, because that was going to be my question. I was going to ask is, why it failed. Sounds like kind of two things. One is your interest in the fashion industry kind of started to dip. And at the same time, you also see the kind of penetration sales and whatnot also wasn't at the level you guys wanted. So you're saying, okay, while it was kind of a fun initial entrance and it was kind of a great experience, it wasn't necessarily the business you wanted to stay into.
Exactly.
So as you're seeing that kind of go down and otherwise not continue to be the area you want to be into, what did you do? Did you say, hey, I'm going to go start another business, or maybe I'll go off to university or to college, or, I'll take a break, or kind of what did you do as you say, okay, our first business wasn't working out?
Because it didn't really not work out, I would say we did quite well for our first company. But the thing is that the growth just wasn't there as compared to the first couple of months. And this connected to my interest into tech. I decided to just focus myself on getting new hard skills. For example, like I didn't really had a lot of real work experience besides this first project, basically. So I decided to teach myself programming. I teach myself Flask programming, Python 3 and HTML5, and then realized, hey, yeah, this is actually quite a lot of fun. But because I'm not an engineering student or computer science student, I pretty much recognized that I really wanted to be on the business side of this whole tech world. And yeah.
No, and I think that makes sense. So it was a good introduction for you to be able to continue to fall in love with being an entrepreneur, doing a startup. You got some experience. You're saying, okay, I'm really more interested in the tech field, and so that's where I want to kind of focus on. So with that as kind of the idea and the direction of where you're now going to be headed, now as you're kind of taking it, what am I going to do next, or where am I going to go?
Yeah.
How did you figure out what was your next steps?
I would say after I teach myself like those programming skills, I definitely knew that I need experience in the field. So I dived into like LinkedIn, for example, or AngelList, and looked up a couple of cool tech startups, which I liked, and just shooted them a message with my application, and basically with the text, hey, I'm available for you for free, basically. But how I got to Polar AI was basically a different story. I love Reddit, for example. I think it's one of the good social networks, actually. And I saw a post I'm not quite sure in which subreddit it was. I think our co-founders, because it was basically a subreddit around where to find a co-founder, how to find it, etc. And I saw a post that someone was looking for, I think, a design co-founder for the whole product design side, etc. And I looked up the product, and I really, really liked it. I saw a lot of potential in it, and I just messaged the post owner, basically, or one of the co-founders, that I'm willing to be an unpaid growth intern. So pretty much on the business side of everything, with the only condition that I want to see professional progress in my career at this company, and that I really want to see growth in the company internally as well. So yeah.
So let me just maybe summarize that or unpack that a bit. So you got into technology, you taught yourself coding, and then you're saying, okay, I value experience more than necessarily a paycheck. Not that you don't need money to live off of, but you're saying, hey, I can figure that out. And what I really want is that experience to be able to keep or get going. So now as you're going out and trying to get that experience, if I understand it right, you went onto Reddit, find other people that you thought were in that realm of technology, that you in that startup realm, that you could go get experience. And did you just reach out to them and say, hey, I'd love to work with you. You don't need to pay me a lot, or I'll work for free, or something of that nature. All I'm looking for is experience. Is that kind of how you made that connection?
Yes, exactly. I of course had some good experience. For example, I was the chairman of the youth parliament of my hometown, which was also like not very normal, I would say. But the only thing that was missing was my really professional experience. So I told them, hey, I'm a fast learner. You don't have to pay me anything. So there's no real downside for you. But the only thing I want is basically experience and yeah, it's some good learnings from your side.
Now, when you reached out to them, and did you just reach out to one individual, or did you reach out to multiple individuals via Reddit?
Um, on Reddit, that was only once the case when I saw the post of one of the co-founders on Reddit. Otherwise, I just messaged them on AngelList, a platform that I can really recommend to everyone who really wants to dive into like this whole startup world and is interested around the whole topic around venture capital, startups, growth and scaling. And there I just sent my normal application. Yeah.
So now you reach out to them and you say, okay, I'm willing to work for nothing or next to nothing, and I just want the experience. As long as you're willing to give me that, I'm willing to come and help out with the business. How did they react? Were they saying, yay, free work, we got an employee that we don't have to pay anything, that will help us build it? Or, saying, oh, this sounds like too good to be true? Or kind of how did they react, and how did you make the connection and get going with them?
Some people were very open for my offer, and some not, because with my knowledge now, I also know that it's not quite free for them as well, because as a startup, the only big thing you have against yourself is time, and to teach some unpaid intern a lot of learnings costs a lot of resources. Also the company. So I definitely understand now that not everyone wants really an unpaid intern that hasn't really a lot of professional experience, because it just slows some departments down when you have too much unpaid interns or interns in general.
Hmm. Well, one of the other things that I've seen is even if it is, you're saying, hey, I'll come work for free and and I just want experience. They're also saying, hey, we have to train you. We have to provide a space for you. We have to review your work. And so it's not truly free in their sense, but it's a reduced cost to them, because now they're just saying we have to offset that cost, but we don't have to pay a salary. But now you say, okay, you found the business that, was interested in it. They're saying, yeah, it's a good opportunity. I think it'll be a good match. So did you move to California or Silicon Valley to go get the experience, or did you work remotely? And how did you kind of get that ball kicked off, and how did it go once you started with them?
Because I studied or study still simultaneously here in Germany, the only option for me was always to work fully remote, which is a good thing when I look at it now, because it also teach me to work or to build my own projects fully remotely as well, because I'm just so used to it, to work like with people from whole different continents, especially together. That was a very good learning for me, and not being present also has its different disadvantages. For example, the lack of being able to really network that well, especially when you're young and new to a company. But otherwise, remote work has like a lot of advantages for me.
Okay, so no, I think that makes sense. So now, question I didn't quite catch in there: did you come to Silicon Valley, or did you stay or stay and work remotely?
I stayed here and work remotely.
All right, so now you're working remotely, you're getting the experience, you're saying, hey, this is exciting. I get to work for a tech company, get to use my skills, get to be kind of the first non-founder employee or non-founder or worker. Are you still with them? Do you still do it, or did you move on to the NGO? Kind of help us bridge the gap, because I think when we talked, you're still doing stuff with them, but how did you continue? How did your journey progress on it once you got started with them?
Yeah, when I got promoted to the chief of staff, I really much recognized that I learned a lot in the last couple of months. I'm still learning, but that was basically the first time where I realized, hey, I'm quite far in my personal career, and went upwards like a lot in the last couple of weeks or month especially. And then I got an offer from one guy who started a small media company here in Germany that was mostly related to startups and venture capital news. And he asked me, hey, I saw your experience. You're also quite young. Do you want to join as a board member and COO and just scale everything up? And it was a quite good possibility for me to prove myself as well, that I gained some sort of experience and a lot of skills. So we scaled it from 4 to, I think, 18 team members within a couple of weeks. I think it was like 1.5 months actually. So everything went upwards pretty fast. But because it was a nonprofit project, I pretty much recognized really soon that if I do something non-profitly, it should be like it should have like a big social impact. So I decided to just be an advisor to the board, and start Third Aid, which is now my NGO. But I'm still with Polar AI, where I'm the chief of staff still.
So now you're saying you're still the chief of staff, you've kind of been promoted, you're still working your way up. And then as you're doing that, I think you've also gone into a bit of NGOs and donations and making them more transparent and helping that. Yeah. Is that a separate business that you started up in the meantime that's a side hustle, or kind of how did you balance that?
I would say it's a side project. There's already a team existing with, I think, team hubs in 5 different countries. We are currently in Germany, Austria, Italy, Singapore, and Croatia, actually. And because I always donated monthly to a pretty famous and big NGO, but I never really knew where my money goes into, basically. I definitely always wanted to make like this whole process of donating more transparent, also to make like donations itself more transparent, to just make this world a better place. And I think we are on the right path there.
Well, that sounds, that's always, I think, exciting, because I think that is one of the areas where people oftentimes are a bit hesitant to donate to NGOs or to other charitable organizations, because you kind of donate and then you never really see what happens after the fact. It's not very transparent.
Yes.
As to how much of your money actually goes to the actual charity versus how much goes to salaries or promotions or other things. And so it always kind of feels like a black box where, hey, I feel good that I donated, but I don't really know what happened to the money afterwards. So that kind of takes it to a bit of the present. So you're continuing to be, chief of staff, and you're also doing the NGO project. So now if we were to say looking a bit into the future, so you still love startups, you still love technology, you're doing, the side hustle as well as a full-time gig. Where do you see the next, 6 to 12 months going for you?
I definitely want to pursue both of my projects. So on the one hand, Polar AI, as I already said, we are raising in the next couple of months, which will be also like a huge opportunity for myself, which will be also career-wise, also financially wise. On the other side, I definitely want to scale up Third Aid to really make it as the platform for donating. This is definitely my long-term goal, but also I definitely can see myself as a for-profit founder as well again. This is basically what makes me most happy. And I definitely see myself, after everything went successful with Polar and Third Aid, that I will start my own thing again.
Well, sounds like it will be an exciting and fun time as you continue to progress and continue to build things. So with that, now as we kind of brought ourselves into, or brought everybody up to the present, and even looking a bit into the future, it's a great time to transition into the 2 questions I always ask at the end of each podcast. We'll jump to those now. So the first question I always ask is, along your journey, what was the worst business decision you ever made, and what did you learn from it?
I wouldn't necessarily say that it was a pure decision. I would say it was more of an attitude. I think it would be, in my case, not being flexible enough when it comes to adjusting bad decisions. Let me give you an example. For example, when we scaled up Venture News, the media startup here in Germany, pretty fast we recognized that our onboarding process wasn't that effective as it should be to keep the pace of hiring on the same level. So there was like 2 or 3 times the situation where new team members didn't really knew directly from the beginning what they should do, which slowed everything like a bit down. So that was basically a very bad decision in my opinion, or attitude at least. Yeah.
No, and I think that, that that's always a hard one, because, you always want to be flexible, and you always intend to say, hey, I'm willing to learn from mistakes, otherwise adjust and pivot. And yet when you get into it, it's always one where, to actually take that feedback, make those adjustments, make that pivot is something that takes, I think, a bit of time to be able to appreciate it and to understand how to do it. So I think that that's definitely a mistake that's easy to make, but a good one to learn from. Second question I always ask is, if you're talking to someone that's just getting into a startup or a small business, what would be the one piece of advice you'd give them?
Get a mentor who already has like a lot of experience, because when I joined Polar AI, for example, I got very much support and trust from one of the co-founders who I worked with like the closest, I'd say. As I already told you, I got promoted quite fast to a very big position. And that is basically the thing where I learned the most. And I definitely recommend anyone to just learn a lot. And this is in my case, in the best way possible, to just get a mentor and see how he or she works. Yeah.
No, I think that that mentor and having someone that you can learn from and gain experience from is definitely valuable. I think that a lot of times people tend to focus on, hey, I need to make money as soon as possible, and I want to be rich, and I want to be unicorn, which are all great aspirations, don't get me wrong. But I think if you miss the point of, hey, what I need to do is build the foundation and the network and the experience and the skill set to be able to be successful, everybody just wants to jump right to the end point rather than doing the work on the front end. So I think that is definitely a great piece of advice. Well, as we wrap up, go ahead.
Yeah, I totally agree to that, and I think it's also like a great possibility for your mentor as well to gain like some sort of new or unusual perspective on a couple of things, especially due to the age difference.
No, I think that's definitely a good point as well. Well, as people want to reach out to you, they want to be a customer, they want to be a client, whether it's for the full time or the normal or the business you're working at, or the side hustle with the NGO. They want to be an investor with the raise that you're doing. They want to be your next best friend. Any or all of the above. What's the best way to reach out to you, contact you, find out more?
That would be definitely LinkedIn. You will find me right away when you just Google my name in LinkedIn or in Google. Otherwise, definitely check out getpolarized.io or angel.co/third8. Those are my 2 projects. And yeah, just stay tuned on my LinkedIn profile. I will basically announce everything, every major update.
All right. I think that's a great way to connect. Definitely encourage people to do so and to reach out and utilize the services or make a great connection, or at least a new best friend. So, well, with that, thank you again for coming on the podcast. It's been it's been a pleasure. Now, for all of you that are listeners, if you have your own journey to tell and you'd like to be a guest on the podcast, we'd love to have you. So just go to inventiveguest.com and apply to be on the show. A couple more things. Make sure to always, as always, listen, subscribe, and share the podcast so both you and everybody else can know when our awesome episodes come out, and we can help others with their journey. Last but not least, if you ever need help with your patents, your trademarks, or anything else, go to strategymeeting.com. We're always here to help, and always happy to chat with you. Well, best of luck, Julius, and wish the next leg of your journey even better than the last.
Thank you very much. It was my pleasure.